Pygubu Designer allows you to visually create the graphical part of your Tkinter applications. In this video, I'll show you two ways to create multiple top-level windows using Pygubu Designer. In the demo app, we'll have one main window and one top-level window. Join me as we continue to explore Pygubu Designer, a graphical user interface tool for Tkinter.
Hi, my name is Jobin, and I'm an open source developer. My channel is called Jobin Py, and it's all about Python and Linux. Welcome to Jobin Py.
So in this video, I'm going to show you how to create multiple windows with Pygubu Designer and how to connect them with code. So there's actually a couple of ways to do this, and I'll show you both methods. Okay, so here's an example. So we have a main window. It just shows the current time. It's a very simple application. So on the main window, it just says current time Friday, which is today, the day that I'm recording this video. Then when I click on About this application, a second window comes up. So both of these windows were created with Pygubu Designer. I'll show you how to do this. Okay, so the first thing we'll do is we'll start up Pygubu Designer. This is the main window. Then we'll click on Top Level. We're going to create the main initial window, the window that says current day Friday. And then here in our top level window, we're going to put a frame. And this frame will cover the entire root window. Right now, the geometry manager is set to grid. And I know that because it shows row 0 and column 0, so R0, C0. And I can check to see which geometry manager this frame is using by clicking on Layout. And we can see that it says Manager Grid. And we can also choose Pack and Place as well. Okay, so I'm going to set the sticky options for this frame. I'm going to have it cover the entire window. And the way I did that is I clicked and I dragged. So I drew a square and then I let go of my mouse. And by doing that, it highlights all the boxes and then it makes it cover the entire area. Next, I'm going to rename this frame to something more meaningful. I'm going to call it frame underscore cover. And then on this frame, I'm going to put a label. So I'm going to click on Control and Display. I'm going to choose Label. And I'm going to write current day with a colon. And I'm going to give this label a meaningful name. So LBL underscore current underscore day. And you can see that the names that I choose will reflect in this object tree view on the left-hand side. So it'll be easier for me to see what kind of widgets I have on this window. Then I'm going to create another label. So I'm going to click on Label at the top. And this one will eventually just have the current day show up here by using our code. So I want this to show up beside current day. So I'm going to click on it. Well, right now it's already highlighted. And I'm going to click on Layout. I'm going to change it to column 1 and row 0. Okay, so now it's right beside current day. I'm going to give this label a meaningful name as well. I'm going to change the ID to LBL underscore day. Then I'm going to create a button underneath those two labels. I'm going to click on Button here. And I'm going to change the text to About this application. Like that. Okay, so I'm going to change the ID of this button as well. I'm going to call it BTN underscore about. So this button is currently not centered. So in order to center it, I'm going to click on Layout. Then there's an option that says Column Span. I'm going to specify 2. So this basically says that this button takes up 2 columns. And when we do that, it centers it and the labels go right above it. Okay, so now that the button has been centered, we should apply some padding to make it look a little bit better. So I'm going to specify a pad Y of 5 for that button. And the current day label, I'm going to set the sticky to east. And the actual day label, I'm going to set the sticky to west. So now they're kind of right next to each other. Okay, so one more thing that we need to do is if we click on About this application, if we click on the button, then go to Appearance, we can set the command for it. So here I'm going to set up a command called on_about button clicked. So on about button clicked. And Pygubu will automatically generate a method with that same name later on. Okay, so we're almost done with this window. One last thing that we should do is if we click on the top level widget here, we should give this a meaningful name as well. So I'm going to change the ID to main_window because this will be the main window. Okay, so I think we're done now. If we go to File, Save As, then we can save this file. I'm going to save this file as day_window, like that. Okay, so the file now has been saved as day_window.ui. So now we can generate the code for it. So I'm going to click on the Code tab, and under Application, I'm going to click on the Generate button. So it generates the code here for us. I'm going to click on Copy to Clipboard. Then I'm going to go to my Python IDE, and I'm going to paste the code. So this is the code that it generated, and we can see that it created that method for us automatically for the button. It doesn't have any code in there just yet, but we'll actually do that here shortly. And if we scroll to the top, we can see that it references the UI file that we saved. So right now, this Python file, pygubu_test.py, which is one that I just made, this is actually in the same folder as that UI file. So it's going to be easy for the script to find that UI file. If it was in a different folder, I would have to specify the folder in this line here. Okay, so I'm just going to run this program to make sure it runs. And it does. Okay, so we have that. So current day, and it's going to eventually show the current day in the section. And we're going to set this up so when we click this button, it shows up a second window. Okay, so let's have it show the current day first. Here I'm going to say from date time, import date time. And here we need to get a reference to the label, specifically this label here, because we want to change this to the current day. So in this case, we want to set it to Friday. Okay, so going back to our code, we called that label LBL_day. So we can reference it here. So self.lbl day equal builder.getObject. And the object that we want to get is LBL_day. So now this variable will contain that label. It'll have a reference to that label. And this part could be anything. You know, you could call this test label and it won't matter. This is the part that actually matters. Like the name needs to be exactly as you've specified in Pygubu Designer. So in Pygubu Designer, we called it LBL_day. So we have to put LBL_day. Otherwise, Pygubu won't know which label or which widget we're referring to. Okay, so I'm just going to change this to LBL_day as well, just so it's easier to understand in our code. We can change the label. So self.label_day.configure, and we want to set the text to datetime.now.strftime, and we want to pass in %A. Let's just make sure that works. Yep, it does. So now it says current day Friday. But I can see that Friday is way too close to that colon. So I want to put a little space there so it's not so close to the other label. Okay, so we should fix that now. So back into Pygubu here, I'm going to go to layout, and under pad X, I'm going to specify 5 space 0, which means add a spacing or a padding of 5 to the left of this label, but not to the right of the label. That's what that 0 means, is here we're not going to add any padding to the right of that label, just on the left. Okay, so I'm going to press Control S to save this UI file, or you can go to File and Save. And if we go back into our code and run this project again, we can see that there is a little bit of a space here, which is good. And now for the second window. So we need to go back into Pygubu Designer. And I'm going to go to File, New. And I'm going to click on Containers and click on Top Level again. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to put a frame in that window. I'm going to set the sticky to all sides. And then I'm going to put a label here. And we'll just call our application day application version 0.1 alpha. And then we'll put a button here. And we'll set the text to close. So in our callback, I'm going to put on close button clicked, like that. Okay, so I'm going to give this a meaningful name. So button 1, I'm going to change this to btn underscore close. The label, I'm going to set it to LBL about info. And the frame, I'm going to call frame underscore cover. And the top level window, we can set this to about underscore window, like that. Okay, so now we can save this file. We can go to File, Save As. And I'm going to save this file as about underscore window and save it. Okay, so it's saved as about underscore window.ui. And just like the other window we created, I'm going to go to the code section. Under application, I'm going to click on generate. And in the generated code, I'm going to copy it to the clipboard. And in our Python IDE, not in the first one that we worked on, but in a brand new file, here I'm just going to call it about underscore window.py. I'm going to paste that code in there. Okay, so now we have the code for that about window, and we can see the reference to that UI file. So I'm going to go ahead and save this file. We're not going to run this file directly. We want our first Python script, the main window, to reference that about window. So how we're going to do that is at the top, I'm going to write from about window import and the name of the class about window app. About window app. Well, we should probably change the name of that class as well. So about window app, I'm just going to remove the app part of it. Like that. So now it's just called about window. I'm going to save it. And down here, I'm going to remove the app part of it as well. This part we won't really have to worry about anyway, because we're not going to run the about window by itself. So back into here, I'm going to change this to about window, like that. So this class name matches the class name in the other file. So from about window, import about window. And that Python file, the about window Python file, it's in the same folder as this file. So it's going to be easy for Python to find it. Okay, so now that we have imported it there, it's just a matter of using it or calling it. So in the button, in the about button, when you click on it, here we can say about equal about window. So now we're calling the class. And we're going to specify the parent of this top level window. So the parent or the master will be self self.main window. Because here, and Pygubu generated this line, it's saying self.main window equal get object main window. So main underscore window is our very first top level window that we created, our main root window. And here we're specifying the parent of the about window. Okay, so let's just run this to make sure it works. Okay, so we have that, and when we click on the button, yep, the second window comes up just fine, just like that. Okay, and we should program that close button so when you click on the close button, it closes as well. So let's just do that now. So in the about window, here I'm going to write, this is the close method, on close button clicked. I'm going to write self.main window.destroy. And this main window is in reference to the about window. It's not in reference to the actual main window. And you can change this as well, because this is something that Pygubu has generated. So you can change this to about window, and we can do it like that, so it just makes more sense. Okay, and let's just run this again to make sure that it works. Click on about this application, and if I click on close, it closes the window. So the second way involves using just one Python file and also one UI file. So I'll show you how to do that. So first, I'm going to go back into Pygubu Designer, and this is our about window. So now I'm going to right click on the top level about window here, and I'm going to go to copy. Then I'm going to open the first window that we created, or the main window. Okay, so now we have day underscore window opened, and we still have the about window in the clipboard. So I'm going to go here in this tree view here on the left hand side, and I'm going to right click and paste. Okay, so now we have two top level windows. This will be the main root window, and this will be the top level window, or the about window. Okay, so I'm going to save this file, save. So now these two are in the same UI file. It's still called day underscore window.ui. And if we click on the close button, we can still see that the callback for it is still there. Okay, so I'm going to go back into our Python file here. We don't actually need that about window file anymore. So I'm going to go to the very top, and I'm not going to import that file anymore because it's all going to be in day underscore window.ui. So now we need to go down to where it says on about button clicked, and we're going to remove that code. And we're going to write about equal self.builder.get object about window, and we're going to specify the master equal self.main window. So here the variable about will get a reference to the about window, which is a top level window, and we're specifying that the parent of this about window will be self.main window, which is from here. And we should also create a method so that when the close button is clicked in the about window, it closes the about window, because that was actually in the other file. So I'm just going to go to the other file, and I can copy this. And I'll paste that here. So this Python file is the main window, and in this main window we're getting a reference to the second top level window. So I'm just going to run it to make sure it works. Okay, so we have current day Friday. I'm going to click on about this application, and it works. So now we were able to bring up and use two separate windows in the same Python file and in the same Pygubu UI file. And those are the two ways of using multiple windows using Pygubu Designer. Personally, when I create multiple windows with Pygubu Designer, I like to put them into separate files. So I like to have a file for each window. But it's certainly possible, as you just saw, to have multiple windows all within one UI file, like we do here. So whether you'd like to have 2 windows in one UI file, or if you want to have separate UI files, that's mainly a design decision, and it's really up to you. I just find that it's easier to have one file per window.
We saw 2 ways of creating multiple top-level windows using Pygubu Designer. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button. Until the next tutorial, thanks for watching.